lack of restitution, struggles for reparations, and the return of stolen property. After the Holocaust, millions of Jewish survivors faced not only the loss of their loved ones, but also the theft of their homes, businesses, cultural treasures, and personal belongings. These were systematically looted by the Nazis and their collaborators during World War II. Although the world acknowledged the atrocities of the Holocaust, the fight for restitution of stolen property and reparations for Jewish victims remains one of the most overlooked and unresolved aspects of their suffering. The systematic plunder. From the early days of the Nazi regime, Jews were targeted not only for annihilation, but also for economic exploitation. Properties, businesses, artworks, and even personal heirlooms were confiscated under the guise of Aryanization. This process transferred Jewish assets to non-Jewish Germans or state ownership. Prominent families lost centuries-old estates, priceless artworks, and businesses built over generations. The Nazi war machine funded itself in part through these stolen assets. Banks and institutions in occupied territories, including France, Poland, Hungary, and the Netherlands, actively participated in confiscating Jewish wealth. By the time Jews were deported to ghettos and concentration camps, most had lost everything they owned. The aftermath of the war. When World War II ended in 1945, Europe lay in ruins, and survivors of the Holocaust were scattered across the continent. Returning Jews often found their homes occupied by others, their businesses dissolved, and their personal belongings sold or discarded. Many governments in Eastern and Central Europe nationalized confiscated properties, using them for public or state purposes, while others denied restitution claims entirely. In Europe and the Soviet Union, where the communist regimes refused to participate in restitution efforts, artworks and cultural treasures became another battleground. Countless masterpieces looted by the Nazis ended up in museums and private collections worldwide. Despite international agreements like the Washington Principles on Nazi Confiscated Art, 1998, the process of returning these works remains complicated. Claims are often met with resistance from collectors, museums, and governments who argue that the current possessors acted in good faith. Stories of resistance, the case of the Gutmann family, a prominent Jewish family in the Netherlands, highlights the challenges of restitution. The family's extensive art collection was seized during the Nazi occupation, with many pieces later sold or given to museums. Decades later, the Gutmann descendants embarked on a legal battle to recover their stolen artworks. While some pieces were returned, others remain lost or entangled in legal disputes. In Poland, where the majority of European Jews lived before the Holocaust, restitution claims have faced immense obstacles. Successive governments have failed to enact comprehensive laws addressing the return of Jewish property. Survivors and their descendants continue to fight for justice, often receiving symbolic compensation rather than the actual restoration of their ancestral homes and businesses. A lingering injustice. The lack of restitution is not merely a legal issue, it's a moral failing. For survivors, the theft of their property represents an additional layer of victimization. While countries like Germany have made efforts to provide compensation, others have resisted taking responsibility. Eastern European nations, in particular, have struggled with the legacy of Nazi and communist-era seizures, leaving many Jewish claims unresolved. The fight for restitution is ongoing, as organizations like the World Jewish Restitution Organization, WJRO, and the Claims Conference continue to advocate for survivors and their families. However, with the aging survivor population, time is running out to address these injustices. A call for justice, the Holocaust was not only a genocide of people, but also a cultural and economic plunder on an unprecedented scale. While lives can never be restored, the restitution of stolen property is a tangible way to honor the victims and uphold the principles of justice. Until governments and institutions fully address these unresolved claims, the scars of the Holocaust will remain open, a haunting reminder of the world's failure to protect its most vulnerable.